Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about SUNY general education requirements. If you take a look at the main academics page on our website, you can see a heading here for general ed. If we go ahead and click on general ed here, you can read about SUNY Gen Ed requirements. So SUNY requires all students that have entered the SUNY system from fall of 2015 or later. If they're earning an associate's degree, they need to earn 30 credits in SUNY Gen Ed approved electives. A lot of these electives are going to be built in to our programs, but essentially what you need to know is these different knowledge and skill areas, which include basic communication and math. And then 5 out of the following 8 other areas of American history, foreign language, humanities, natural sciences, other world civilizations, social sciences, the arts, and Western Civ. So students need to meet both critical thinking and information management by completing courses in their major. Also, if students are transferring, it's very helpful that they are, if they're transferring within SUNY, that they complete their gen eds with us, because then when they go on to their four-year school, they really don't have to focus on meeting those gen eds as much. They can really focus on their major requirements. If you take a look up under general ed, there is this specific SUNY approved courses. So this really is a good tool for advisors. This is updated anytime the course options change. And so these are our specific approved courses at NCCC that meet the SUNY Gen Ed requirements. Not all of our courses at NCCC are considered SUNY Gen Eds. So if you take a look at the math listing and basic communication listing, you can see, most students need to complete an English and potentially a speech, or they need to complete one of these math courses, even for their degree. So a lot of it really is built in. And then when it comes to the other elective areas here, the students would just pick 5 different elective areas in the classes within, if they do get electives, and they can choose anything. Or their program might specifically just list you need to do a literature. And so that literature course, as you can see, these lit courses here would meet the humanities requirement. So it might not be a humanities elective they're choosing, it might be a literature elective, but that is how that program is fulfilling that SUNY Gen Ed requirement. Now, there are a couple courses, if you notice here, some of them have asterisks next to them. If you scroll down, you can see what these asterisks mean. These courses appear in more than one category and can be used to satisfy at most 2 requirements. So for instance, Art 100 falls under both Western civilization and the arts. So we call those double dipping. So that student would only get credit for 3 credits worth of gen eds out of the 30 total credits, but they would get credit for 2 categories or 2 labels or attributes within that. So if that student wanted to do that art class, they could maybe also do a different type of gen ed instead of doing a Western Civ, or instead of doing an art class or history or something like that. So they would have already fulfilled arts and Western Civ and only need 3 other categories left. So take a look at this chart. This chart is also built into DegreeWorks. So we're going to take a look at DegreeWorks real quick. And what's very helpful is I chose a program for humanities and social sciences and the liberal arts, because there's a lot of gen ed electives in here. So for instance, for this student would need to pick something in amongst the gen eds for this art class. So if you take a look at the electives for general education for arts, they're all listed here. So instead of just having the listing from here where you see the just art acronym and the number, you can actually click on or hover over these to see the title. And if the student wants to read the description with you, or you want to read the description, you just click on it and you can read the description, and you can see if there's any prerequisites as well for the course. So as you go through, discuss the gen eds with your student, have them pick out a course in the electives that fits that gen ed. Now, next here, it's built in that that student needs to complete an American History, Other World, or Western Civ. And here are the history class options for that, because it needs to be a history prefix. So that student could pick any one of these courses. Now let's take a look at the humanities gen ed elective. So it looks like that student completed it with a literature class, and you can see contemporary world lit here. For the math gen ed elective, math 110 was completed. For the science, biology was completed. For social science, sociology was completed. So you can see all these different electives that are completed. Now, this is the major requirements section. Any program that requires SUNY Gen Eds, if you scroll down, there's a whole separate Gen Eds requirement. See right here, general education requirements for graduation. It's going to say at the top that that student needs a total of 30 credit hours remaining. And it'll say here that the student currently has 19 credits remaining, and there's 11 more credits that need to be completed. So DegreeWorks does this math for you. It's always good to double check, but it's helpful to see that math in here. So this student needs to do an English class. They need to do the oral part of their basic communication program as well, but they've met their math. Here, they need to do either American history or art or foreign language in here, but we can see humanities is completed, natural sciences is completed, social sciences is completed. So there's several categories that are completed and additional electives that would add up to 30. We would add in, and DegreeWorks adds in extra credits in here in case that student chooses courses, like I mentioned, that are double dipping courses, such as in here, it might be one of these art classes that could fulfill an art or could fulfill an other world or some Western Civ class in here. It's helpful then to have additional gen ed credits to get to that 30. So again, there are 8 different categories that if a student needs to do a general education requirement, they would need to fulfill. Those categories can be fulfilled 100%, typically by the actual program and requirements for their major. So for this student, they can fulfill, as you see in the major requirements, they just have to pick SUNY Gen Ed electives, not just college electives for arts or for math, something like that. And then they need to make sure they fulfill the 30 total credits. So it's just something that they need to be aware of, and you as the advisor really should be responsible for imparting that knowledge on them and tracking and making sure that they're fulfilling those requirements, because you know, you could miss a couple little things and a student could actually have technically their whole degree done, but they have not fulfilled all 30 credits of Gen Eds or have not done all of the different categories, and they would not be eligible for graduation yet, because that is a requirement of graduation. So just keep in mind, Gen Ed requirements are very important, and it's something that easily can be done without any extra time or effort on the student's behalf. It's just something we want to make sure as an advisor, as the advising professional, when we work with our student, that we make sure they're also fulfilling these SUNY Gen Ed requirements. Thank you so much. Keep watching the rest of the training in this video series for how to create SEP plans, how to read DegreeWorks evaluations, how to do sub-waivers, etc. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Student Success Center. Thank you so much.